gave me something that today I have to work on me. I have to work on me, but I'm not lost anymore.
We came from roaches on the floor, a notice on the door, baking soda in the jar, but now we focus on the law. It's like soap up in a cloth, the way it's soaking and it wash. It's something like good dope, cause it's potent and it's raw.
I used to post up out the store, work stashed behind the door. Everything I had was pure, so fiends was coming back for more. The Most High opened my eyes, and then I seen that I was flawed. Now I'm addicted to these laws because they potent and they raw. I was in and out of jail, cause in the streets, yeah, I was lost. Trying to be like all the hustlers, they don't tell you it's a cause.
Last part of words.
No, Mike.
You talk over me. You can make the last point. But think about Hebrews 19. That's all I'm going to say.
Next verse.
Now, this is
Sub him out. Sub him out. Sub him out. Sub him out.
Now get him out.
Sub him out. Sub him out. Sub him out. Sub him out. Sub him out.
Because I talked to him before. He more.
All right, so look, this is how it is. You confront these guys with scripture.
Let's go. Let's go.
7:11 through 19. We understand that Melchizedek was not
Hey, what's his name though?
Order of the Levitical
Hey, bro, what's your name?
tribe.
The one that adopted
That's
something, not you, him.
Jesus Christ.
What's his
Jesus
name?
Christ was the order of the
John. Hey,
So
John.
these guys don't want to.
Hey, I'm letting you know early right now, John. I watched your video with Battle Axe. If you pull anything out of the Apocrypha, I'm not dealing with it because you don't believe it. I'm just letting you know that now.
With that, we're going to
you
go
don't
ahead and let
believe
Brother
it.
John talk.
What's up?
And then,
It doesn't matter. You don't believe in scripture.
that's kind of right.
So I'm not dealing with it. If I pull something out of the Gospel of Barnabas, are you going to believe it? Exactly.
You can bring it up.
Exactly.
I'm not
But
going
go
to deny
ahead.
you the ability to bring it up.
I mean, that's cool.
Use it as scripture.
That's cool. You don't believe in
I
it.
talked to another camp and we did it there.
I know, and I'm not doing that. I'm not about to debate something you don't believe in. Because even if I give the true breakdown on it, it doesn't matter. You don't believe in it.
Right.
So you can bring out somebody who's
I believe it has historical value.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
I do believe it has historical value.
Don't do that.
You don't disagree.
No, I'm saying.
I just believe there are errors in it, which is why I wouldn't
now you want to
consider
do
it
that
scripture.
because all you have is Wisdom of Solomon 11. We're not doing it. You can go anywhere else. We can talk about soteriology.
Well, it sounds.
I'm just letting you know. I know you guys have something.
This wasn't a good way to start the conversation off. We were trying to chill it out.
We are
Already by saying you can't say this, can't say that.
I said we're not about to introduce something into the argument you don't believe in. So you can go into your 66 books that you think is canon, and we can deal with that. I'm just letting you know that now.
Okay, I'm just going to tell you. I hear what you're saying, but I'm my own man. I believe in free will, so I'm going to make my own choices.
Okay, go ahead.
So I do have one question though. I know that y'all cooked one of your phones over there. Do we want to move, or your phone's going to be okay?
You'd be happy.
Be all right? Okay. And I do want to say this: patience is he's patient, but there is a point when that runs out.
So go to Isaiah 61. Go to Isaiah 61. Go to the Gospel. Isaiah 61. Let's go to. Right, you already know what it says, so I'm going to skip to the point, my point of contention. Go to verse 4 and read to verse 5.
Book of Isaiah, chapter 6.
Actually, start at verse, because I wanted to say Zion. Go to verse 3.
Isaiah chapter 61 and verse 3. To appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes.
All that is possessive of Zion, Israel.
The oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he might be glorified. Verse 5, and strangers.
And strangers, now, in the beginning of this, it talks about Zion. This is literal Israelites. The strangers outside of Israel, go ahead.
And strangers shall stand and feed your flocks. And the sons of the alien.
Not y'all, I mean, actually, not our people, but y'all, the sons of the alien, bend the car. Go ahead.
Shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers.
Go ahead.
But ye shall be named the priest of the Lord.
But Zion's going to be named the priest of the Lord, but the strangers outside of Israel are going to be working the fields. So there's no spiritual Israelite in that. That gives you that tells you what nationalities are doing what. So we can't get no spiritual Israelite out of that, like as far as, oh, the heathen or the people who don't believe in God type thing. That's literal Gentiles, natural Gentiles working the fields. So how is salvation for everybody?
Salvation is available for all who believe. Romans 13.
That didn't answer this verse.
The Lord shall be saved.
That didn't answer this verse though.
Because there are going to be Gentiles that won't be saved. They're going to be Gentiles that are punished because they rejected God. Just like if there are Israelites that reject God, they'll be punished as well.
So you're saying the believers in Christ now become the Israelites that are going to be the priests, and everybody outside of that are going to be working the fields. That's your point?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
You're saying there's going to be Gentiles that are saved and Gentiles that aren't saved. The Gentiles that are saved are going to become Israelites, and then they're going to be beating the Gentiles with a rod of iron. That's what's happening right here.
What time period are we talking about? Like right
this
now?
This is eschatology.
No, I'm asking. Like, okay, and the kingdom is. There's a question of what they become, but they just say they become fellow heirs according to the promise of Ephesians 2:11.
That's not what I asked you. I asked you because right here, you believe Gentiles can be part of this, correct? In Isaiah 61, correct?
You're asking, can Gentiles be believers as part of the kingdom? Yes.
Okay, right. So they become Israelites because this is talking about Zion. So you're saying those believers and Gentiles can become Israelites?
Okay. Well, if we're going to go through that track, I'm going to have to ask you some questions about your.
Well, that's a simple yes or no,
yeah.
Because we see this is talking about nations, nation of Israel, everybody else. So for a Gentile to take part of this, they would have to become an Israelite because the Israelites are taking part of this. Is that your point in this?
Well, not according to the promise of Abraham. If you believe in faith, you're going to become a true believer to God.
Well, no, that didn't answer my question.
And so there's some ambiguity in Christianity over that question. That's why it's a harder question.
So it's ambiguity. Okay, then.
No, as in there's difference of opinions.
Okay, that's fine. But right here, before we leave it, because I don't think you're prepared to deal with this. Before we leave it, right? It says Zion's going to be the priest of the Lord, and the strangers outside of Zion are going to be working the fields. This is positive for one people, and negative. Matter of fact, read verse 2.
Isaiah 61 and verse 2.
Yeah.
To proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord.
Yes, salvation.
And the day of vengeance of our God.
So somebody's getting the acceptable year of the Lord, and somebody's getting the day of vengeance, right? The acceptable year of the Lord is the people who's going to be the priests, right? You say Gentiles can take part of that. And it says strangers outside of that are going to be working the fields. So those Gentiles you believe who can be saved, right, and take part in the acceptable year of the Lord, they have to at some point, from what you believe in, have to become what, spiritual Israelites?
Yeah.
Is that what you believe?
They have to come by faith. Like you're asking the question again. I already told you that there's a difference of opinion.
Okay, you're not prepared for that. Go ahead and bring out your verse then.
Okay. Well, let me ask one question here, just so to clarify. Because some of the camps have difference of opinion on that. When it says the light to the nations, you actually mean nations being actual Gentile nations as opposed to those from the northern tribes?
Do you know what the light to the nations is?
Yeah, we just read it. We started reading Isaiah.
Isaiah 60?
Yeah. But my question to you was just simply, what do you believe? Because some Hebrew Israelite groups believe that the nation's referring to the northern tribes.
No, I think
they'll have a different breakdown.
I believe when in Isaiah 60, what we're talking about right now, get Isaiah 60. I'll show you what I mean.
Book of Isaiah chapter 60 from the top. Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth.
Wait, literally?
Is it Kurt Franklin?
Where Kurt Franklin at? Hey, Kurt! Hey, Kurt Franklin!
Yeah, that is Kurt Franklin, get him on
camera. Hey, bro, yeah, get on camera. Hey, you an Israelite, man. You a God chosen people, man. Somebody get that man a flyer or something. Do something with that, right?
Give him a flyer,
Oh, that's crazy. Every time we come over here, bro. Somebody get over here.
Hey, somebody get that man a flyer.
Let's go back to Isaiah 60.
You gotta keep it close.
Isaiah 60 and verse 2. For behold, the dark, arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee.
Upon thee, that's talking about Zion, to Zion.
And his glory shall be seen upon thee. And the Gentiles,
and everybody outside of Israel, the strangers,
shall come to thy light.
They're going to come to our light. Now, this is talking about being a light to the Gentiles. Now, part of being a light to the Gentiles, go to verse 10.
Verse 10. And the sons of strangers,
y'all,
shall build up thy walls.
We're going to build our kingdom, like it said in Isaiah 60.
And their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually.
So while we're bringing light to us, Israel, being a light to the Gentiles, other nations, our gates are open.
That's all I was asking.
Let me finish this real quick. That's just this last verse. Our gates are going to be open continually in the kingdom.
They shall not be shut day nor night, that man may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles.
Forces right there means wealth. So when we're a light to the Gentiles, everybody's going to come to us to seek knowledge, like it says in Isaiah 2, and y'all are going to bring us wealth unto us. That's what being a light to the Gentiles is.
Right. So you said the forces, that's referring to actual Gentiles. Okay.
No, the forces is y'all's wealth.
Riches. Gotcha.
That's the Hebrew word.
Gotcha. Cool. So I got a question here for you. This is just to kind of make the conversation a little easier. I just wanted to ask you on these people whether you believe that they are ethnic Gentiles or ethnic Israelites.
The Gentiles coming to the light?
No. These are just, well, it could be, but this is just names. Like for instance, one of them is Ruth. Do you believe she's an ethnic Gentile or ethnic Israelite?
I think Ruth. I think she's a Gentile. She's
okay. Yeah. This is just to save some time here. What about the widow of Sidon?
Who?
The widow of Sidon in 1 Kings 17.
I'd have to see it.
Luke 4.
I don't see how that's relevant though.
Well, because it'll save time in the discussion. Whether I have to break that down to you to explain why they are ethnic Gentile or ethnic Israelite.
Okay, wait. You don't get my point. Like, you wouldn't have to go through all that if you understood my point. When it's us being a light to the Gentiles, everybody outside of Israel.
I moved past that question. I'm asking another question to get into that. I only talked about light to the Gentiles because you were talking about that before.
Yeah.
So I'm just asking you if this list of people, whether you think they're an ethnic Gentile or an ethnic Israelite. You don't have to give me the breakdown. I'll take your word. That's fine. So do you think the widow of Sidon is an ethnic Gentile or ethnic Israelite?
I don't know. I gotta look at it.
You don't know? Okay.
I don't know everything.
Okay. That's an honest answer. Myself as well. What about Shechem in Genesis 34? He had the incident with Dinah.
I gotta look at it.
Okay.
I'm not about to answer anything. Like, as far as like you naming specific people, unless it says they're a Jew or not, or an Israelite or not.
Well, Shechem in Genesis 34:2 says that he's the son of Hamor the Hivite.
The one that got killed.
I mean,
I'm not. This shouldn't be this. I understand that you're getting a little defensive. This shouldn't be the.
I'm not getting defensive. I'm just saying, like, my point isn't going to change whether they're Israelite or not.
Okay.
Like, as far as my breakdown.
Most people would say that these are Hamites.
Okay, that's fine.
So okay. What about Achior in Judith 14:10?
Hey, same thing.
Okay.
Unless it says they are or they aren't. I'm not about to do that. I'm not about to claim to know everything.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. What about Goliath of Gath?
I mean, same thing, man. I'm gonna say the same. I'm giving the same answer. Like, I'm not about to trip up and say, oh, they are or they're not. No, I don't know everything. I'm in the heat of the moment. So just make your point.
Okay, I just got to get a few more. Well, this would have helped the conversation if we could get some resolution to it.
I mean, go ahead.
Is name the leper an ethnic Gentile?
Bro, John, just make your point.
I am making my point here.
Just tell me what you think they are and make your point. I'll deal with it where it is. I deal with things where it says in the text. I'm not about to just pull a name out.
All of these names are in the text.
But I know, but there's like the name Ishmael. Hold on, let me see this. Ishmael, right? Who's Ishmael?
Ishmael, he's the son of Abraham.
You know, there's a Jew named, an Israelite named Ishmael, right?
Is that the one you're referring to?
No, I'm trying to illustrate a point. If you name a name out there,
is there another name in the Bible?
So you play games, John.
I'm not playing games. You're getting defensive. I'm just asking you a question. Is it a Gentile or is it an Israelite? This is a big deal by a lot of your beliefs, and I'm asking you a simple question, and you're dancing.
It doesn't. It doesn't matter, because all that's going to lead to the light to the Gentiles, right? My breakdown isn't changing off of that. So make your point. It doesn't matter. Just make your point. That's all I'm asking you to do. Just make your point. I don't get boxed in. Like, one thing about me, I'm not about to get boxed into things. So go ahead and make your point.
Okay, I just got a couple more. Are the Ninevites and Jonah?
Plead the fifth. I'm pleading the fifth. Just make your point.
Okay. Well, how about this one then? Your brother in arms, Deacon Hakah. I think you made the argument that centurion and his servants in Matthew 7 and Luke 8 was actually a Gentile. Do you share that belief?
You see Deacon?
I don't see Deacon.
I don't see Deacon. I mean, that's cool. That's cool. I'm not getting boxed in. Just ask your question. Just ask your question, bro. Just prove your point. That's all I want. Just do that. You were the ones who were debating about soteriology. Let's talk about. I'm not talking about random people in the Bible.
Well, I honestly thought this was going to take 2 minutes. So, you know, some of that's because you're being defensive too.
I'm not
but
being
all right.
Just make the point. That's all.
Okay, fair enough.
You believe salvation is for everybody, not just Israel. Prove that. That's what you got on the mic for.
Okay. Well, let's talk about Revelation 7.
Okay, what?
Like Revelation 7, I know you.
I love it.
Have a nice breakdown to it. Obviously, it starts with 4th grade, talks about the 144,000, and then it says the verse in Romans in number 9, where disobedience said, "Lo, I see a great multitude, more than any man can number, out of every people, nation, kindreds, and tribes." I understand that you already have a. I've already. I've heard your breakdown with regard to people, nations, and tribes, or excuse me, people, nations, and tongues. But I do want to talk to you about the kindreds there in that verse, particularly 9, specifically, because it goes with the Greek word phule. And I'd just like to give you a chance to kind of give your breakdown, and then I'll kind of answer.
Okay, as far as phule, like it says in this room, that's somebody who's a descendant of the children of Israel. It's not any deeper than that. Like it says it in the Greek. You saw my breakdown where I pulled it up. It's not any deeper than that.
Right. Well, but the difficulty is you're pulling that from Strong's. It's just a biblical outline, which is one man's opinion pulling information. And if you even look in there, it'll say number 1, and he gives that definition. But then it also says number 2, it talks about nation and I think people. And under that, it lists a couple verses, specifically like Revelation 1:7. And then also Matthew 24:30, which would contradict what it said in number 1. So that gives you an idea that this is just pulling information together. It's not like they're thoroughly vetting it. And so I would like to kind of talk you through with that information.
Do you know how I use the you saw
reasonable men can disagree.
I got you. You saw when you pulled that out of the Blue Letter Bible app,
yeah.
Right? Now, that was the outline of biblical usage. It's used this way. It's used as far as somebody who descends from Israel.
But did you hear what I just told you?
I got you. I'm not finished. I'm about to address your point right now. It's used. One of the definitions is used for somebody who's an Israelite, and the other one is for nations, like how you said. Now we know through the context, right, that's talking about the children of Israel, because those people who are the 144 and the innumerable multitude are those who've been redeemed by Christ. We believe through prophecy, through Christ's words, and through Paul, the people who have been redeemed of Christ are the Israelites. Give me Galatians 4 verse 5. 4 verse 4 actually, because that's going to be the crux of the matter. Because what we're going to do in Revelation 7 and 9, you're going to say that's talking about other people. I'm going to say that's talking about the children of Israel. The way we break that down and see who's right, we have to go to who Christ died for, because that's the people who are going to be redeemed.
Well, we first want to start within the book of Revelation.
I know.
Before we go out to other verses.
I got you. I addressed that though. Your breakdown of that that's talking about everybody, right? All nations, correct?
Yes, when it uses that fourfold meaning of people, nation, kindreds, and tongue, that talks about everyone. And it's also, you want me to, I can give you...
I want to stop right there, because I just wanted that understanding. You believe that's everybody. I don't believe that's everybody based off of...
You believe it's the 12 tribes only?
Yes, okay. And the only way we can come to an agreement on who that is, we have to see who Christ died for, because that's a common denominator. The people being redeemed right there is who Christ redeemed. So let's see who Christ redeemed.
Book of Galatians chapter 4 and verse 4. But when the fullness of time was come, God sent for his son, made of a woman, made under the law.
Made under the law, go ahead.
To redeem them that were under the law.
Everybody wasn't under the law, so Christ redeemed the people who were under the law.
That we might receive the adoption of sons.
That we may redeem the adoption of sons. We is in this context is Paul and the audience he's talking to. That we might redeem the adoption of sons. Just let you know that these Galatians right here are Israelites. Now going to Acts 2. Give me Acts 2. Or don't do you have Acts 2? Read Acts 2 verse 5.
This is the book of Acts chapter 2 and verse 5. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men, out of every nation under heaven. Now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language.
Speaking his own language, tongue, Glossia, right?
They were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, Behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? And how here we are, every man in our own tongue, wherein we were born. Parthians and Medes.
Now, right now, it's going to run down all these different nations where Jews dwelt. And it said they all spoke different languages, but they were Jews. Now go back to Revelation 7, where we started at, right? Started at verse 7, verse 9.
This is Revelation chapter 7 and verse 9. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number.
A great multitude which no man could number. The people who were redeemed of Christ. We already proved the Israelites were redeemed from Christ because they were under the law.
Of all nations.
Of all nations. We already proved in Acts chapter 2 that Israelites weren't all nations. Go ahead.
And kindreds.
Yeah, and kindreds. Now there's a dispute. Philate. People can say that's a nation, but it could also be somebody descendant of Israel. And we know through context, like what we just proven all the way up until this point, this is a child of Israel due to who Christ redeemed, due to Israelites being in all lands, due to them speaking different languages. Go ahead.
And kindreds and people and tongues stood before the throne and before the Lamb.
Before who?
And before the Lamb.
Because he redeemed them. Go ahead.
Clothed with white robes and palms in their hands.
Go ahead.
And cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our God, which sitteth upon the throne and unto the Lamb.
Salvation unto our God, to those who, of the Lamb. Is that it on that? Yeah, that's pretty much it. But that's my breakdown.
Okay.
It's very simple. That's why we believe Philate is talking about an Israelite. However you want to say it. However the white you want to say it. To be honest.
That's very classy.
I mean, y'all putting us in captivity was classy too.
Right.
Well, y'all call us black. It's wrong for calling y'all white?
Do you want to start preaching, or do we want to talk about it?
I mean, go ahead. I'm just saying that.
Kind of going on a sermon. In Romans 7, verse 4, it reads, I heard his breakdown. All right, thank you for your help. It says here, and I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed in 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Note the word used there by the KJV that says tribes. Yet in verse 9, it does not choose the word tribes, it chooses another word, it chooses the word kindreds. And I would say that is noteworthy. Yes, in the Greek it uses the same word, but the fact that it's using different language, and we'll see in the book of Revelation that whenever it's referring to the tribes, particularly the Israelite tribes, it specifically uses that language, tribe or tribes. And we see a difference. We see a difference in pattern, like in Revelation 1:7, where it reads, Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him. And they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him, even so, amen. And so it says, kindreds of the earth. Do you believe that that's referring to only the 12 tribes of Israel?
Yes. And you know why? And you know why you're still in the same quandary?
So why, and I have one more question. I'll let you answer. And then just to ask you, why did they not use the word tribes when they were perfectly able to do it in Revelation 7?
It doesn't matter. They didn't have to, because you're still, like, and I'm saying the same thing I was going to say, you're still in the same quandary, because those are the people who were redeemed of Christ, right?
What's that? We have a difference of plan, because I believe this is all the people of the world.
Hold up. I'm saying those out of those
kindreds.
Hold up. I got it. That's relevant to the point that I'm asking.
Okay.
Do you believe those are the people who've been redeemed by Christ?
These people right here in this verse? No, this is just the world seeing Christ coming from the clouds in this verse here.
And verse 7. Yeah. I'm talking about in verse 9, that the verse in
yes,
question.
I believe a multitude from them will be saved. Yes, they become saints.
I'm talking
you don't agree in Revelation 7:9 that those people are saints?
I think you misspoke when you said that. The people right there in verse 9, those are the people who've already been, that's salvation. Right there. It says it in the next verse. So that salvation comes from Christ, correct? So they've been redeemed by Christ, yet. So
I feel like you go ahead and make your point.
Okay, they've been redeemed by Christ. We went to Galatians 4, verse 4 through 5 to show you that only Israelites have been redeemed by Christ. Because it says he came to redeem those who are under the law. Everybody wasn't under the law, even Mike said that. So now, you're still in the same quandary. You have to explain to me how that's everybody if that comes through Christ, and Christ was only redeeming the Israelites. You have the same problem. You can keep asking me questions, but you're still in that picture right there.
Well, I can address that broader question right now. Right now, I'm trying to stay within the language used
No, you gotta,
here
you gotta,
in the verse.
you gotta break that down now.
You're the one who likes to y'all like to talk about precepts. Well, we have a precept right here talking about kindreds of the earth. And that language, phule, is used throughout the Bible, either families, tribes, or kindreds. And I can show you in the Old Testament many times, like in Amos 3:2, Genesis 12, verse 3, where it uses that language, families of the earth, and it's very clearly talking about broader than just the 12 tribes of Israel. And so when it comes through all the way to Revelation, all the way to Revelation, we're going to see the same usage here. It's not going to break tendency.
No, the problem is...
And you have some other problems too if you're going to hold on to it being only 12 tribes of Israel. I'm just trying to give you a chance to answer the question.
No, you don't get it.
Well, one of us doesn't, that's for sure.
You don't. And you know, if you were listening, you will understand why.
Okay.
You still have the same problem. You can say these other, like I said before, before I broke it down, before I gave my soliloquy right here, right? Before I broke it down, I said, you're gonna say that's somebody, I'm gonna say it's somebody else. The only thing we can do to figure out the answer to that equation, we have to find the common denominator. The common denominator is Christ. So who did Christ die for?
That for all who believe in Him.
Is that what Galatians 4 said?
What's that?
Is that what
Why are
Galatians
you
4
using
said?
Galatians to talk about Revelation?
Because it's the same thing. So Paul's lying then.
Why would you run to another book? If I want to talk about you and what your meaning is in a word, I'm not going to talk to your friend.
You don't get it.
This is pretty simple. Revelation is a big book.
Hold up, John. You don't get it. You don't get what I'm saying. The common denominator is Christ. You're not seeing who Christ died for in Revelations chapter 7. So you have to go to another place to see who did He die for. I chose Galatians 4. We can go to Hebrews 9 verse 15. It says the same thing. We can go to Isaiah chapter 53.
I'm very happy to talk about all of Paul's letters for you. But we need to deal with Revelation first before we run to other books in the Bible.
You don't get it.
I understand why you want to do that.
My breakdown is not changing.
Well, that's unfortunate because it's a false breakdown.
Okay. I mean, you can feel that.
Because that same language, because I'll give you another question here to prove my point. In Revelation 11, it gives another example where it talks about that fourfold meaning, where it talks about people, nations, kindreds, and tongues. And so we go to Revelation 11.
You want to go to Revelation 11?
Yeah.
Oh, well, please start at 1. If you're going to do that, please start at 1. That's going to be...
Be happy to talk about it. In Revelation 11, it refers to the two witnesses.
Gatorade, man. I'll say, matter of fact...
And I'll go ahead and start reading here from verse 7. It says, when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of this great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their bodies 3 days and a half, shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves, and they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that they dwelt on the earth. And you told us before that kindreds was the 12 tribes of Israel. So you're saying the 12 tribes of Israel celebrated the death of the two witnesses?
We're not talking about that right now.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because I disagree, because you're doing that to correlate with Revelations 9. If you're not going to accept what I said, we're just going to be in a disagreement. That's all it's going to boil down to.
Okay, well, let's keep going. You gave a non-answer.
I did give it. I actually gave a breakdown. So you disagree with it. So you disagree with mine.
Clearly, and so does the text.
Okay, next point. That's not what the audience is going to see. That's not what the audience is going to see.
That's right.
Those who have ears, let them hear.
Jonathan. Sorry.
My name's Jonathan.
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 So now this, right?
And your name is Yachty, by the way?
Yes, call me.
What?
Ottawa. But can you tell me what Galatians 4 verse?
What does Ottawa mean in Lashon Kodash?
That's relevant.
No, I mean
you're goy, so it doesn't matter.
Well, you kind of said that like there was something sly about it. What's that? Do you know what that means?
They're not going to answer you.
What's that? Are they afraid they're not allowed to?
No, it's order.
Okay.
It's order.
That's very cool.
Like I said
very
before, that's not cool-like. Because you see in 1 Corinthians 14, the Lord wants everything done decently and in order. You don't see a whole bunch of people talking at the same time.
Okay,
like how y'all do.
To bring this back, just so we can say, when
John,
in these
John,
verses,
John,
the fourfold meaning, you're going to plead the fifth.
Hold up.
Because you were strong out of the gate, but now...
I'm not strong. I gave a breakdown that you didn't even respond to. So now,
I responded to it in the book of Revelation. I responded to it in how many verses?
No, you didn't. You disagreed and went to Revelation. Now, can you explain what Galatians 4 verse 5 says? Just explain it. Just explain it. And then you can bring out something else. It's fine.
Okay.
I'm not about to just come over here and just I'm about to put the Hebrew Israelites on trial. No, man.
I just asked you.
2023, man.
It's something that it's something that sincerely you need to think about. Because I think that it's an error in Hebrew Israelite teaching.
First of all, I'm a Jew, right? Give me Romans 3.
Teach,
I don't want my answer. Give me Romans 3.
Come on, this book of Romans chapter 3 and verse 3. No, verse 1 is like it. What advantage then hath the Jew?
That advantage right there is superior. What makes the Jew superior? Go ahead.
Or what profit is there of circumcision?
Yeah.
Much every way, chiefly because that unto them were committed the oracles of God.
So Paul said, like your Messiah, Paul said that the oracles of God was committed unto us. So, no, you can't teach me anything.
Nothing.
So, back to my original point, Galatians 4 verse 5. Tell me how y'all fit in that.
Who is the Apostle Paul? An apostle too?
That's irrelevant.
No, I think it's very irrelevant.
That's irrelevant.
He was an apostle to the Gentiles.
That's
the
irrelevant.
book of Galatians is written to the Galatian church, the church in Galatia.
So they're Gentiles?
What's that? Yes, the large.
Galatians
Let's clarify. All of Paul's letters are written to believers, and much of his group are Gentiles.
Are they Jews and Gentiles, or are they just
There are Jews in the audience as well.
Okay, watch this.
Book of Galatians chapter 3 verse 24. Wherefore the law was our schoolmaster to bring us unto Christ.
So how can this church be Gentiles, right? Natural Gentiles. The law was never given to them. How can it be their schoolmaster, John? That's solitary confoundment.
Okay. No, don't encourage it. Because I can't remember the exact verse, but when it says when the Gentiles, listen, you have a Bible too, you should be able to remember this. So when the Gentiles do by faith the law, it is a law unto themselves. So they can still be under the spiritual law, as my brother said, in that sense. But also,
so that's the spiritual law.
May I answer? Because
no,
it sounds like you want to talk about the law.
No, that's cap.
I'll bring Michael back if you want.
No, don't. Please don't bring Michael back.
So we were talking about salvation.
Please don't bring Michael back. I need you to explain why I said the law was their schoolmaster to bring us unto Christ. That law is before Christ died. So how could that be the spiritual law?
So are we going back to the law? We don't want to talk about salvation anymore?
This is salvation.
I'll answer that.
Book of Galatians 3 and 24. Wherefore the law was our schoolmaster to bring us unto Christ.
Bring us unto Christ. So this is talking about the Mosaic law. Go ahead.
That we might be justified.
What?
Might be justified.
Christ's justification, salvation. So this is before y'all can say a spiritual law. That's the Mosaic law. So how were these Galatians natural Gentiles if they were never given the Mosaic law? To be a schoolmaster to bring them to Christ.
Do you want to answer?
Mike,
I'm only answering questions by salvation.
If he's going to read that,
if you want to talk back to salvation, I'll answer your question.
No, I want you to answer this.
What's that? If you want it, like I said, I'm not going to trump his time about the law.
I want you to explain. These two verses.
I'm going to give him the chance to. If you want to talk the law, he's the one. We're talking about salvation.
You're talking about salvation. Justification is part of salvation, right?
Yes, it is.
So that verse is salvation. That's right. So you have to answer that question, Jonathan. You have to answer that, man. You have to answer it.
Romans 4, 13 through 15, for the promise. He would be the heir of the
if
world.
he's going to do that, we're about to go teach the Bible.
That's right.
I'm going to say that.
Through the law, but through the righteousness of faith.
Get your man.
There it is.
Get your man.
Hold on.
That's That's what it says. For if those who are of the law, if they are heirs, faith is made void, and the promise made of no effect.
Hey, we're not about to do two speakers. We're not doing two speakers. Let it you speak.
Wherefore the law was our schoolmaster.
Law was our schoolmaster
to bring us unto Christ, that we might be justified by faith.
Tell me why these natural Gentiles, how was the law their schoolmaster? Because this is talking about the people who's going to be justified, salvation. Just tell me how these are natural Gentiles.
I just told you that those who go by faith, those who do faith by righteousness, it is a law unto themselves. And you're ignoring Galatians 3:28-29.
You're running, man. You're running, man. We gotta go do the work of God.
That's right.
We gotta go do the work of God, man.